we have learned this week. I pray you would be in our midst. I pray that you would just speak to each of our hearts and that we would hear exactly what you want to say to us. We ask all these things in your name. Amen. Okay, so God is stronger than my overwhelming life. Did you guys have fun with that? Oh, wait, you know what? I had a game. All right, so this is going to be fun. This is called Shipwreck. You guys may have played this before. So I'm going to give you literally like 10 seconds to think. You're shipwrecked. You're on an island, okay? And there's only one thing you can bring with you. And this needs to be something that you really enjoy or something that maybe represents you. Whatever it is, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to think, survival, or I need a shovel or water. Just whatever represents you, what would you bring? One thing. Doesn't have to be realistic. You have 10 seconds. Think.
My candle.
Candle. I like it. Somebody else.
My husband.
That ain't got my life.
All
Oh my God.
iPhone. What else? Yes. Robin, right with you. I would have coffee. We would set up a Starbucks. Yes. Chocolate. Okay, we got chocolate and coffee, an iPhone, a Kindle, and a couple of straggling men. Okay, then. That's it. What else? Bible. There we go. Robin and I. Okay, what else? What's significant? What's the one thing you would bring? Come on, somebody. I know you guys thought of something. Okay, what else?
Well, I was a smoker, and so now I just do no nicotine puffing on a vapor. So
Did you bring your paper?
for a bit, I should find some tobacco leaves there for my puffer with me.
Alright, so that's good. That's what you bring. What else? Okay, we've got a Kindle, an iPhone, a Bible, chocolate, coffee, a puffer. What else? Water, okay, we'll bring water. I expect toilet paper. Walking shoes or something.
Well,
you would bring
barefoot.
right?
Toilet paper?
Toilet, yes, good one. So we've all mentioned things that are important to us, and it's kind of interesting to see, when you think about the first thing that comes to your mind if you were shipwrecked. And I know we're having fun, we're playing a game. What would we want? The first thing, literally, coffee was the first thing that popped in my mind. And you guys know I've been detoxing from coffee this week, and I've done really good with it. But I've been drinking like a gallon of water a day to flush my system. So he comes home tomorrow. So I'll probably check on caffeine soon. All right. God is stronger than my overwhelming life. Let's get into this. This was such a great week. Oh my goodness. And how God and I'm the one who got to teach it this week because this was my week. I mean, this is so me. Every single day, I found myself right on the pages. So day one, anything you can do, I can do better. I call it this because I've got to share with you this little comparison. I didn't realize until I started studying this lesson, well, I kind of did, but not to the detail. I didn't realize I was the worst offender. My sisters, I have 3 sisters, and we all are scattered all over the U.S. and live in different places. But we have our own little way of communicating where we can all be together, and we have our own kind of hangout, and we'll get on there and just talk with each other. Well, I want to share with you, and this is literal, okay? I want to share with you the little comparison game that we have going on. So my sister, my youngest sister, Rachel, says, oh, I worked a double shift, homeschooled the kids, completed an online class, and fixed a homemade dinner. Immediately, my sister Bethany pipes in, I homeschooled the kids, cleaned the house from top to bottom, fixed dinner, crossed into another country, and passed out 40,000 pieces of the Bible literature. My oldest sister pops in and says, well, I homeschooled the kids, gave food away, and witnessed to 200 people, loaded and unloaded a semi-truck full of donated food, ran a town meeting, did an hour workout, and made dinner. I jump in. Well, I fixed breakfast, eggs, pancakes, oatmeal, all gluten-free, of course. Packed a wholesome lunch, sent my kids to school, worked a full 8 hours helping patients, something. We all are guilty of that. But it was not about winning, and I love this quote. Never compare your journey to someone else's. Your journey is your journey. It's not a competition. I love this. And I love this verse in Galatians where it says, if you think you're better than others when you really aren't, you're wrong. Do your own work well, and then you will have something to be proud of. But don't compare yourself to others. We each must carry our own load. It is not realistic for me at this stage of my life where I have 3 school-age children and a ministry. It's not realistic for me to try to compare my life to Dana's. It's not. She's already raised her children. She's in a complete different phase of life. And if I start to try to compare how much time she spends in the Word of God versus how much time I spend in the Word of God, or how much time it's ridiculous. It's exactly what Galatians says. We each must carry our own load, and we're each in a different phase of our lives. So I love that with the first day, task overload. There's so many things that we get caught up in that comparison. Day 2, this was one of my favorites because I battle this all the time. This is like my big, I literally took, and I love the ones that she uses, distractions I cannot control, and then ones that she can. And she kind of touched on social media and ongoing up to the minute. These were things that were specific to her. So I took a couple of things that were kind of specific to me that I struggle with. So there are 5 distractions I can control. The unstructured time distraction. If you don't schedule your time, someone else will. Isn't that true? If you don't have a schedule, buddy, somebody is going to schedule it for you. The lack of a planned distraction. Don't just allow work to come to you. Plan for the work you want to accomplish. That means you can't, if I don't have a plan, if I wake up and I don't have a plan for the day, I'm going to be doing out little mini fires all day and never really accomplishing anything. So I have to have a plan, and these are preventing distraction. To do it all yourself distraction. I am so bad at this. I am like the world's worst at this. Do it all yourself. Since from the time I was a child, my parents would get so frustrated. Jana, you need to ask for help. I can do it. I can do it. I do it all myself. There's always stuff to be done. Are you the person to do it? That's the question to ask yourself. There's always stuff to be done, but are you the person to do it? I have learned through much trial and error to slowly start to delegate tasks. And my youngest sister, Rachel, she is like if you could imagine a human made out of firecrackers and somebody lights the fuse, that's my sister Rachel. And she is so energetic and so good as a leader. She goes in and she runs that show. And so she works her grill line at Cracker Barrel, and as soon as she walks in the kitchen, she says, nobody talks but me. I give the orders, you do what I say, and we'll be happy. And they obey because she's so good. She gives them a task to do, and the managers love it because they do such good business. They have such happy customers. But this is her big breakdown is she thinks she can do it all herself, and she has a hard time delegating. Do it all yourself distraction. The perfectionist distraction, also another problem of mine. The goal is excellence, not perfection. I repeat this over and over like a mantra. The goal is excellence, not perfection. As a recovering perfectionist, it is important for me. It is important for me because you know that bleeds over into your parenthood. You know, when you're a perfectionist person, you tend to, and we're going to really talk about that tonight with unrealistic expectations, you kind of reflect that onto your children. And, you know, Josh said something to me one time that cut me. And I was making a comment to Josie because Josie's my free, love and get it done. It doesn't have to be neat, and it's okay. And stuff the clothes in the drawers. And Ben's like, oh, Josie just took all her clothes I wanted and stuffed it in her drawers. She just put them in there. Why she stuffed them in there? I'm like, Ben, it's okay as long as they're not on the floor. So he's panicking now. But I told Josie, I said, Josie, look at your handwriting on this. If I was your teacher, I would make you erase every bit of that and write it all over again, perfectly neat. And she said, well, I don't really care. I said, why don't you care? And Josh pipes up and says, because we're not perfectionists. right. That's why I put excellence is the goal, not perfection. And you know, there's that fine line there. You want to do it to the best of your ability. When I ask the children to clean up the kitchen, I know it's not going to be done like I would do it, but as long as it's to the best of their ability, they strive for excellence. Social media, of course, this is another big issue of mine. My brother-in-law put a little thing on his Facebook and said, click like if you're bored and scrolling through your newsfeed. I said, no way, nobody's going to admit that. But social media, schedule playtime, and don't play until it's time. You know, when were any of you in the 7 experiment? Did any of you guys take part in the 7 experiment? Well, you remember we went through where you had to take away something, and well, social media was one of mine, and it was like every time you reach for your phone, it's like, oh, I can't, you know, look. So that's a big time distraction. It really is. So these are mine, and I hope you guys took the time to write down some of the ways to eliminate distractions that are specific to you, and those are just some of mine. Day 3, oh my goodness, how long of my Christian life has God had me here? In the past 15 years, I have had so many lessons to learn in this area of unrealistic expectations. And I named the ones that I find for myself. I have unrealistic expectations, and I really want to talk about this. So you can have unrealistic expectations in marriage, children, church, and friendships. Only God is perfect, remember that. And disappointment happens when reality doesn't meet expectations. So what does this mean? We all have the basic human rights, expectations for the basic human rights, right? Based on moral and sound judgment. We all expect those, and we all deserve those. Your boss expects you to work a full 8 hours because he's paying you for 8 hours. That is an expectation that's not unrealistic. I expect my children to brush their teeth. It's not unrealistic. I expect my husband to be faithful. He took vows to be faithful. I expect that. That's not unrealistic. Unrealistic expectations, this is the best way for me to define it, is when we start to find our significance or our value in the actions of another human being. We'll let you think about that for a second, because she touches on that, but she doesn't really go into detail on that. And when I was studying through, God really brought this story from my own life to my mind. And I'll have to tell you, because I didn't realize that I had so many unrealistic expectations in my marriage that I had put on Doug. And you know, unrealistic expectations are most of the time unspoken. They're not a spoken expectation. When I tell my children, when you wake up in the morning, you're going to make your bed, brush your teeth, you know, those are expected things. They're spoken. But we also have these unspoken, and most unrealistic expectations are unspoken. So for me, I'll just give you an example. You guys know Doug, and of course, you know, he is the most amazing person to me, especially. And he is incredibly talented and gifted, and God's given him so many different gifts, and he is very generous with his gifts that God's given him. And so I may play it safe, kind of, I'm not budging until I can see every corner of the room, and I have already analyzed every person in the room, and I know it's safe for me to walk to that corner. Okay, that's just who I am, and that comes from my character that God gave me. It comes from my home life as a child. It comes from a lot of different things. But that's who I am. So when Doug came into my life, I fell for it hard. I mean, we were married 3 months after we started dating, okay? So, yes. And he took me to Mexico. I went to Mexico gladly with him because I felt so secure. I felt very safe. Doug is a person who always has plan B. You can ask him about anything and say, what would you do if? He'll tell you that. You say, what if that fails? Boom, he'll have plan B. I always told him, if you couldn't do the ministry or something happened, you could be a risk assessment manager. The guy can foresee risk everywhere. It's just unbelievable. And so I felt very safe and secure because he was in control. I mean, even during the turmoil of Mexico that started back in 2007, we lived in a hot spot there in Mexico where the drug cartels actually came through. We lived in the state of Coahuila, the city of Saltillo, which was a main highway for the drug cartels to run to the border. It was about a 3-hour drive. So it was a very dangerous city. Every day we got alerts from the embassy saying, vary your routine, don't take the same pass, don't be out after this time, make sure you're locking everything up, you know, all these different warnings. And I never felt fear. Not a fear. I never worried. Because I knew even if something happened, now I'm telling you where I was then, okay? I knew that even if something happened, Doug would find a way to get me to safety. He would convince the Mexican cartel. He would. I mean, I had that full confidence. There was no way that anything would happen. He would find a way to fix it. So last year, almost 2 years ago, I don't know how many of you know about Doug's deal with on his flight to Lima, Peru, but on his flight to Lima, Peru, he had a reaction to mefloquine, which is a malaria drug. It interacted with his blood pressure medication and another medication he was taking, and it was the second round he had done the mefloquine. And he lost consciousness and cracked a rib, and he didn't know why. They didn't know why. The doctor on the plane who was checking him out was slightly inebriated. They, you know, I was like, the alcohol in his breath woke me up before anything. So it was really scary because he was 3,200 miles away from me. And he was scared. I had never seen him scared. See, Doug's always very, okay, I got it, plan B, here we go, we'll do this. And if that doesn't happen, we'll do this. If that, I'd never seen that person. And when I heard his voice and I could tell there was fear in his voice, then my foundation was shaken. And I was really to the point where I was angry with him for losing consciousness. And you know, he wasn't in his control, but God revealed to me that I had put him up as an idol. He was my idol, and he was teetering, and he was falling, and I was upset because he was. I had put unrealistic expectations. You see, I had put Doug on this pedestal to keep me safe, to protect me, to provide for me, and I'm not saying that those aren't responsibilities to a certain extent, but I'm talking, I turned to Doug for an answer before I turned to God. I turned to him, and I automatically, in my mind, said, oh, Doug will take care of it. Doug's got it. Instead of, God will take care of it. God's got it. And I got put in a situation where Doug didn't have it. And I had to say, what's going on? And God said, Jana, you've got an idol here. And you've put unrealistic expectations. And I didn't realize that. You know, when I confessed that and I cleared that up, there was such a peace. And I knew God was in complete control. When Doug got back, I apologized to him for that. And there was this pressure. How do you know if you're putting unrealistic expectations when there's this pressure and that person you've got unrealistic expectations on doesn't feel like they can come sit down and talk to you, just really talk to you? Because they're so afraid that they're going to hurt your feelings, or they're so afraid you're going to turn them off, or you're going to turn away, or you're not going to accept them. You've got unrealistic expectations somewhere. You are connected somewhere to that person. You are trying to find your value or your significance in that person's actions or what that person can provide for you. That's unrealistic expectations. And that's exactly what happened. You can destroy your children by placing unrealistic expectations on them. And like we said, those are usually unspoken ones. Understand each child is different. When I grew up, there were 7 in my family, and my dad is a perfectionist. He is so talented. It's almost scary how talented he is. The man can do anything. You go into the Pottery Barn and see the tables are charging $3,200 for. He can make one like that. Make it look just like it. He's making me one. The guy can do anything. And you send him a picture of a landscape, a picture of a whatever, and he will duplicate it. He will replicate it. He can do anything. But he's a perfectionist. And growing up, everything we did, we tried to strive. There were unspoken, unrealistic expectations for us to live up to his standards. And as a recovering perfectionist, you can't even live up to your own standards. It's not going to happen. And as a child, I remember growing up, and I would never, everything I did, you know, you're always kind of looking for daddy's approval, mom's approval. If your children are always looking for your approval that way, nervous about what you're going to say, you probably have unrealistic expectations on them. And that's exactly what happened in my childhood. You can't play the comparison game between your children. They're each unique. You guys know my 3 children. They're very unique, very individual. But when your child's behavior or lack of behavior, young or old, makes you feel good as a parent or makes you feel like a failure as a parent, you have unrealistic expectations. Why? Because you are finding your value or your worth in that person. They don't, I love what she says, they're not perfect, you're not perfect, I'm not perfect. They don't owe us anything. Nothing beyond what they committed to. That's it. Day 4, the illusion of balance. Boy, don't we all feel this. Oh my goodness. We are not called to live our life on a tightrope. By His goodness, we have been caught in a net called grace. I love this. I have just clung to this. I love this week. It's so good because I feel like sometimes I know it's an illusion. It is not balance. But God is bigger than our rejection, our arrogance, our very smart academic minds, and our ongoing sin that just keeps piling up. I love that when we're looking for balance. I love to have everything scheduled and ordered, and on paper, it's all supposed to run smoothly, right? But a kid gets sick, Dana gets sick, she doesn't show up, and I've got to do this, and this was not how I had it scheduled. But you know, that's the illusion of balance. Something can happen any day. You know, I use Summer and Aaron as an example. I mean, he went in for a traditional reversal. That was supposed to be an in and out. That was not. I mean, that was not planned. Nobody planned that. The illusion of balance. We're all one step away from falling into that net. And the thing of it is we can fall into the net. That's why it's there. I love that. So, day 5, living in Him. I'm going to stop here. We're going to go to discussion time. And we'll have about 15 minutes or so, and then I'm going to wrap up Ashley here on living in Him, and we'll talk a little bit about what that means. So everybody should have discussion sheets on your table. So go ahead and grab that. And by the way, you guys see the names who is not here tonight. Write their name down, send an email, a text message, a note, a phone